Vasistha continued, on account of various causes, there is this movement of thought. Someone is freed from this in one lifetime, and someone else is freed in 1,000 births. When there is movement of thought, one does not see the truth. And then there is the feeling of, I am, this is mine, etc. Movement of thought. Some people subscribe to the idea that meditation is about stilling the mind. And it's certainly something which seems to be reinforced by the Yoga Vasistha. Although the Yoga Vasistha says that meditation is not necessary, it does seem to be extolling this idea of freedom from movement of thought. And I think that's correct. But we shouldn't assume that freedom from movement of thought is about stopping this movement. What is this movement of thought, first of all? It could just be thinking. It could just be thinking. Or it could be the attention. What does thinking involve? It involves taking your attention, which means taking your awareness to a particular notion or an image or an idea, a particular process. That could all be called movement of thought. And it's this movement of thought in the form of the cognitive process which gives rise to all the notions we have about who we are, the world we live in, about how we perceive the world we live in, and so on. But to get rid of movement of thought isn't about stopping thought. It's about stepping aside. It's about bypassing. You can be free from movement of thought while thinking is still going on. The attention can be directed back to itself, back to its state of pure awareness. In the meantime, the mind still might be clacking on. It might still be having its thoughts. There'll be things going on round about. There'll be things going on inside. All that carries on. The difference is the attention is not engaged in it. The attention is not engaged in it. The intention is engaged in itself. And this is when you have stillness. This is when you have freedom from movement of thought. The world appearance is the waking state of consciousness. Egotism is the dreaming state. The mind stuff is the deep sleep state. And pure consciousness is the fourth state, or uncontradicted truth. Beyond even this fourth state there is absolute purity of consciousness. One who is established in it goes beyond sorrow. Now this can be quite a confusing passage. Egotism is the dreaming state, the mind stuff is the deep sleep state, and pure consciousness is the fourth state, or uncontradicted truth. It's almost as if you've got to get to this truth by going through the state of sleep, beyond the state of deep sleep, and then you get to uncontradicted truth. But that doesn't quite make sense. What we've got here for the first time in the Yoga Vasistha is the Vedantic teaching of the different states of consciousness, sometimes called avastha. And these states, the different states of consciousness are basically categorized. You've got the normal waking state, you've got the dreaming state, you've got deep sleep, and then there's the fourth state of consciousness, which is described as self-realization, realizing yourself as Brahman. And beyond that, there's something even more radical. So that's a basic Vedantic teaching, a basic teaching of the Hindu Vedanta. And it's being used here, this teaching is being used here. It's been used in quite a clever way to direct us back to who we are. First of all, we've got the world appearance. That is being identified as the waking state. And then it says egotism is the dreaming state. Well, egotism is the state of the jiva, it's the state that believes it's operating, it's a self operating within an external world. So it's a dreaming state in the sense that it's a deluded state. Now, once we move from the external world to a sense of the jiva, to a sense of the self, we can go deeper. We can go deeper to the realization that it's all mind stuff, the way that a dream is all dream stuff. Everything around us is the one thing, it's consciousness, or here it's described as mind stuff. And this is described as the deep sleep state. And the quality of the deep sleep state is its imperturbability. Somebody who's fast asleep in deep sleep is not moved by what's going on round about them. So when you kind of have this realization of the mind stuff, then you're not going to get taken in by the various things that are going on round about. You're not going to allow your attention to be hijacked by the notions and events that are happening round about. And beyond that is the state of pure consciousness. This is a realization that it's all consciousness. It's all your fundamental consciousness. Not your fundamental consciousness in the sense of you as a personality. You've bypassed the personality and come to the realization it's one consciousness. It's one consciousness manifesting itself as you, as a phenomenal world. And this is the fourth state. And according to the Vedantic teaching, there's a state even beyond that. And here it's described as the absolute purity of consciousness. And here we got to realize it's not about states after all. We're no longer, it's not about states of consciousness. Liberation is not about enhanced states of consciousness. It's beyond all that. It's beyond all that categorization. It's pure, the absolute purity of consciousness, one without a second. So this is the basic, this teaching of the Vedanta, this categorization of the states of consciousness has been used to direct us back to who we are, just like the teaching of the 5 elements can be used in this way as well. We've got the phenomenal world, we've got a sense of I, realization that it's all one, it's all the same thing, the realization that it's all consciousness, and then the realization that this is everything. There's no categorization. There's we've bypassed the cognitive process at this point.